Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast. That is, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Gigot with Kate O'Dell and Kim Strassel here on Potomac Watch. Let's listen to Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma. He's now chairman of the Appropriations Committee, veteran of the House, former head of the Rules Committee earlier this Congress, until recently, frankly. And let's listen to him talk about the prospects of a motion to vacate the Speaker's chair that is being threatened by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I take anything seriously, but no, I don't. Look, I think it's a relatively small number of Republican members, frankly, just as it was in McCarthy's case. There were only 8 people.
Exactly.
But the point is, I don't think there's unified Democratic support. There was unified Democratic support to remove the Speaker. I think both sides have now seen how dangerous this is, how irresponsible it is. And quite frankly, I think it's unlikely that Democrats who supported Ukraine, not as many supported Israel as we would have liked, but they did support Ukraine. I think they're unlikely to remove the Speaker over that. Although, to be fair, they removed McCarthy after he did what he asked them to do, which was keep the government funded.
All right, that's the statesman-like approach. Let's listen to a rather different temperament from Texas Representative Anthony Gonzalez, who is very unhappy with the chaos caucus in the House.
It has been a brutal Congress, but we're also dug in. You know, for some reason, these fringe people think as if they have the high ground. They do not. I assure you, the rank and file members that normally are kind of easygoing, doing the right thing, put their head down, they vote yes or no, but they're not public about it. Those days are over. The fight is here. And this whole pushing, if someone's going to poke you in the chest, the way you take care of a bully is you bloody their nose. And that's where we're at. We're at a point where we're just trying to govern. And that's what Mike Johnson has done. Govern in an honorable way. You do not leave your allies on the battlefield to bleed out.
Well, pretty forceful statement there, Kate, but in my view, warranted under the circumstances. Marjorie Taylor Greene still saying that despite her failure to bring the motion to vacate right after the votes in the House on the weekend, now says she will do so after the House returns from recess. And she says that Speaker Johnson's days are numbered, whether that is this Congress or the next. Is that right? Do you think she actually has the votes?
Well, Paul, I'll buy you and Kim a drink if I'm wrong, but I predict Mike Johnson survives this and manages to keep his job as Speaker for the duration of the Congress. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene, first of all, we know she doesn't have the support that she had when she and others ousted Kevin McCarthy. She also doesn't have the long list of personal grievances that many members had against Kevin McCarthy, whether fair or not. I thought they were unfair. So she needs Thomas Massie to go along with her, which he has indicated that he may be willing to do. But I think it's going to be difficult to get much support for this idea after a long recess. Most members are happy to have the Ukraine issue behind them, whether they voted for it or not. And even those, like we were talking about earlier, the isolationist caucus may be smaller than advertised. Most of them did not really want to just dump Ukraine and let Putin take over Ukraine. So there is not the same kind of animation, I think, among a large group of the conference that would help. There's also now no alternative. Does Marjorie Taylor Greene, she can't command the votes to be Speaker. There's simply no one else to go to. And I think the Republican Congress would essentially be over if they depose Mike Johnson. Now, whether Mike Johnson wants this job next Congress, that depends on the size of the GOP majority, which always influences what kind of speaker that you have. But I think, if anything, Johnson's level of respect among his members and his command on his conference, I think it is improved by the leadership he showed over the past 2 weeks in making a decision that a lot of his members supported to move forward on this, to allow the House to work its will, and then to move on. So I'm predicting he survives because while it's cathartic to yell about motions to vote and say you're really going to move on it now. It's notable to me that it hasn't happened yet, and I think she may end up having to back down.
Well, it's very interesting. I guess she has two people who have said they join her, Paul Gosar of Arizona and Thomas Massie of Kentucky, but that's it, who've been declared. And on the Democratic side, though Hakeem Jeffries, the leader, has not declared how the Democrats would vote, as Tom Cole suggested, there have been individual Democrats who have said that they would not vote to depose Johnson, but would vote to keep him in the speaker's job. Tom Suozzi, New York, Long Island Democrat, has wrote that in our pages recently. Ro Khanna, the California progressive on the left of the Democratic caucus, says he thinks Johnson should serve out the rest of his term here. And the argument is, look, they've got vital business to do here in Congress, and the last thing they want is to throw the place into chaos again, Kim. So it looks like Johnson would get enough Democratic votes to keep him in the job at least through the end of this Congress.
Maybe. I think Tom Cole put his finger on it. He's an old hand and he knows how this works. It all comes down to the Democrats in the end. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't pull the trigger on this at the height of the Ukraine vote because sentiments were running high in favor of getting this bill across, and she understood that Democrats, huge majorities of Democrats, would come to Johnson's aid. The question is, does that spirit remain as we move farther away from this vote? Or is there a calculation on the Democratic side that there would be an advantage to seeing chaos break out again? Now, some of this will come down to numbers. There are 3 members who said that they would go forward with the motion to vacate. That's obviously less than the 8 that went after McCarthy. At the same time, those numbers could grow, and also Johnson's down to a 1-vote majority. So this does depend on Democrats. So at a certain point, and I'm a cynical person here, at a certain point, does Hakeem Jeffries, if this comes down the road, does he still feel obliged or interested in bailing out Republicans on this? Maybe, because I think they've understood that the chaos is problematic for the institution in a way that's bigger than politics. I think it may come down, if that's what happens and Democrats bail on Johnson, it may come down to the fortitude of certain Democrats who are less interested in politics and more interested in governing. I noticed, for instance, that Ro Khanna came out and said that he will be there with Johnson through the end of the term, no matter what. So are there other Democrats that would do that even if their leadership said, no, let them hang themselves? Maybe so. And the very fact that if there were a few more Democrats that came out and said that, maybe a Jared Moskowitz, for instance, that would probably be the thing that then got Marjorie Taylor Greene to stand down.
I suppose immediately after the recess, when they all return and Marjorie Taylor Greene threatens to pull the trigger, more dangerous time for the speaker would be when they're putting together the budget for the next fiscal year, because that's when there will be Democratic priorities. And I suppose if they decided then to go along with the Republicans who wanted to depose Johnson, that they could. And in that case, you might end up with Hakeem Jeffries being the only one who could win a speaker vote by accident, but that could be possible, depending on how big Johnson's majority is at the time. Still unlikely, but that, I suppose, is possible. All right, we're going to leave it there today. Thanks to Kate Odell and thanks to Kim Strassel. Thank you all for listening. We're here every day on Potomac Watch, and this week we're going to be listening to the Donald Trump trial and also riots in the Ivy League. A couple of interesting stories to follow if you stick with us the rest of the week. Thanks for listening.